How are you? I thought that what might be a good idea is, since we are not meeting on Shabbos mornings because currently we have to practice social isolation, removal from each other, social distancing, I think the term is more correctly put. Why should we forego the morning shiur? Why don't I pre-record it, and in so doing, you have the opportunity of having it before Shabbos, and on Shabbos morning, you can take the notes. They're in the office. I'm happy to share them with you, pick them up, and go over the shiur yourself, and that way you have your Shabbos morning shiur with the benefit of this little explanatory video that you can watch before the Shabbos as such. So let's see if we can continue in this format. Maybe we can move even into Zoom. We'll see if that works for you. That means all of us will have to tune in at the same time, but we'll have an interactive session. Let's see what works. So perhaps I would begin by just going over the previous class, because many of you were also not there because of the issue of social isolation and distancing. And the question that was raised in this Sikha at this stage, the Rebbe's Sikha, is the positioning and the Seder, the order of the four sons. Now, as we have in the Haggadah, the four sons are listed as the Chacham, the wise one, the Rasha, the evil one, the Tam, the simple one, the She'ein Odeh Lishol, one who can't even ask a question. So the Rebbe is asking, what sort of sequence is this? I mean, if you wanted to have a sequence that, say, corresponded to the Torah, in the Torah, the order is quite different. In the Torah, the order is Rasha, Tam, Shedei Lishol, etc. It's a different order altogether. Chacham comes later on, in fact. Or if you don't want to put it in the order of the Torah for some reason, then logically perhaps what you should do is put it in the order of Torah observance. Chacham, Tam, Shedei. Rasha will come last. In either of these, Rasha isn't positioned, the wicked one isn't positioned next to the Chacham, the observant one. So the Rebbe is asking, why is it that in the Haggadah, however, we do that? We place them in this particular order. And also, the question that's raised, it's a very severe response to the Rasha. When the Rasha asked the question, what's all this to do with you guy? Why you? It's you. It's to do with you. You people. That's the way the Rasha talks, as if he's removing himself. Our response to the Rasha is a very severe one. The text says it's because God did this for me, meaning, but not for you. If you would have been there, you would have not been redeemed. If Russia, and they weren't. We know that 80% of the Jewish people, unfortunately, didn't leave Egypt. They weren't redeemed for whatever negative reasoning that they had, unfortunately. And our Russia of our Haggadah would have been amongst them. And we say, hey, you're talking like that. If you were there, you wouldn't have come out at all. Now, what sort of response is that? It's hardly the kind of response that will cause a person to rethink, a person to search his or her ways, a person to become a Baal Tshuva. So that was the second question. And the Rebbe proceeds to speak of this and try to respond throughout the course of this particular Sikha, and asks another question. We recite the Haggadah, the vast majority of the narrative, over the second cup. The second cup corresponds to the Rasha. How is it that the majority of the narrative of all our experience is to be given in the honor of the cup of the Rasha, the second son that's mentioned? That seems to be also rather strange, does it not? And then the fourth question that the Rebbe asked is, look at the sequence of the narrative. We begin long before the Exodus, long before the Egyptian experience. What's the first thing we talk about? We talk about the fact that our ancient forefathers derived from idol worship, meaning Abraham's father, Terach, was an idol worshipper. So we point out at the very beginning idol worship. I mean, what's that got to do with Egypt? The whole narrative is dealing with Egypt and Exodus. Why does the Haggadah go back then? Start with Egypt, speak about the Exodus. Why do you have to start with a rather shameful, negative expression of our roots as such? Okay, so then the Sikha proceeds to tell us why we have this particular sequence. And one of the reasons that's given, we speak about the 4 sons, is because it says Echad Rasha. Somewhere in the Haggadah we say Echad Rasha, Echad Chacham, Echad Rasha, Echad Tam, Echad. Why is there this strange expression? The one is a Rasha, one is a Tam, one is a She'eni de Elisha. What's the one? Just list them. Kama, Chacham, Rasha, She'eni Elisha, Tam, She'eni de Elisha. Why Echad, Echad, Echad? So the Rebbe points out, firstly, that every one of us, a Chacham or a Rasha, possesses the Echad within. We have that singular Echad spark of the Echad, of the great Echad. Echad is, of course, God. God is oneness. Everything is one. And every one of us has that spark of oneness within us, even the Rasha. The Rebbe points out that the name Yisrael is made up of the acronym, the Yud, the Sin, the Resh, the Aleph, and the Lamed. There are 600,000 members of our people. And therefore, what we're saying is, if even one was missing, like there were 600,000 letters of the Torah. And as a consequence of that, even if one letter is missing, then the whole Torah is rendered apostle. You can't utilize it as such. Likewise, even if the Rasha were missing, the Echad of the Rasha, we would be shortchanged and we wouldn't be able to function as a people at all. The Rasha is an integral, the wicked one is an integral member of the Jewish people as such. So that was just a notation that the Rebbe made. No matter what the letter is, that's important. Even no matter who we are part of the one Jewish people. Okay. The expression was Yeshishim Riboy Oishis the Torah. That's Yisrael. There are 600,000 letters of the Torah as such. That refers also to 600,000 souls and families of Jewish peoplehood. Okay, so now further, what's the reason that the Rasha is placed next to the Chacham? And what we said was that if we look at the juxtaposition, what we can say is that when the Torah speaks of the 4 sons and offers an instruction for the avodah to achieve the ultimate intent of everything, and we said one and one and one and one, everything possesses the issue of oneness within it. Now we can understand why the Rebbe always was concerned with being able to insist that we are involved with every single, even the most simple of Jews. In fact, the Frierdiker Rebbe was often asked, why is it that you spend time with simple people who are not at all on your level of learning or level of practice or anything like that? Why do you spend so much time with them? Surely you would be more adept, you would be more satisfied with spending time with those who are closer to your status, etc. And the short answer there is that we have a responsibility for every one of the 600,000 families, every 600,000 letters of the Torah. So that's an extension of what we said before. And to answer the question of why is it that we are so harsh in our response to the Rasha, it's not that we are harsh. We misunderstand what we tell the Rasha. If you were there, you would not be redeemed. No. If you were there, you wouldn't be redeemed. But you are here. Post-Mitzrayim, and post-Mitzrayim, everybody is going to be redeemed for the next Geula Shlema. And what we're offering the Rasha is therefore hope and opportunity to be able to move into that redemption phase. So it's the opposite of what the way that we usually translate and understand it is. What we're saying here is that what the tell the Rasha is, if you were there, you wouldn't have been redeemed, but you're not. Baruch Hashem, you're here. And under these circumstances, you will be redeemed, because the third Geula, when Mashiach comes, will have you despite who you are. So we begin by offering hope as such. So this is just a little overview of what we did last time and a little bit further of this time, so that when you read the notes, you are able to at least have a sense of the content and a bit of the explanation. I'll try to do this every week by giving us a little bit further insight before we actually study it for ourselves. So enjoy, be well, be in touch.